Why your morning determines everything. Let's be honest. Most of us don't wake up feeling grounded. We wake up feeling behind. Behind on sleep. Behind on tasks. Behind on life. Before we've even taken our first deep breath, the world is already demanding something from us. The notifications, the inbox, the mental to-do list. And just like that, we've handed over our attention before we've even remembered who we are. But what if your morning could be more than a blur of routine? What if it became a quiet act of power? The Stoics believe that how you begin the day is how you live your life, not because mornings are magical in themselves, but because they reveal something fundamental. Who is in control, your mind or your momentum? Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, once wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." That's not just a quote, it's a mindset. He wrote those words in his personal journal, not to impress others, but to remind himself of what truly matters. Because he knew what we often forget. Life doesn't owe you this day. It's offering it to you. And how you meet it, groggy, distracted, resentful, or present, clear, and intentional, will shape not just your morning, but your entire experience of being alive. Think about it. When you start your day in a state of reaction, checking your phone, scrolling through chaos, you're not choosing your energy, you're absorbing someone else's. But when you begin with presence, even 5 minutes of stillness, a simple breath, or a grounding thought, you reclaim something essential: agency, clarity, direction. That's what this video is about. Not a list of rigid morning hacks, not some productivity challenge, but a deeper practice of remembering. You have the power to set the tone, because mornings are more than minutes. They are momentum. They are the first agreement you make with life every day. And whether you approach them with distraction or intention, that choice echoes. So let me ask you, what if you treated your morning like something sacred? What if you gave it even a sliver of your best energy instead of your leftovers? You don't need to change everything at once. You don't need a perfect schedule or a flawless ritual. You just need a reason, a why, a willingness to meet the day with heart, not just habit. Because here's the truth. A powerful life isn't built in a single moment. It's built in mornings, quietly, patiently, repeatedly, and it begins. Not when the sun rises, but when you do. Part 1. Wake up. 1 hour earlier, your golden window of clarity. Let me share something simple, but life-changing. Wake up 1 hour earlier than you usually do. Just 1 hour. Not to rush, not to check emails, not to get a head start on someone else's priorities, but to reclaim something most people have forgotten: silence, stillness, you. In that extra hour before the world awakens, there's a kind of golden clarity that exists nowhere else in the day. No noise, no pressure, just space. Space to think, space to breathe, space to ask yourself, how do I want to live today? But of course, your mind will resist. The bed will feel too warm. Your thoughts will say, just 5 more minutes. And this is where the Stoics come in. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." The hardest part of waking early isn't the act itself. It's the inner dialogue that comes before it. But once you rise, once your feet touch the ground, the resistance fades. Because what you're really doing isn't just waking up early. You're exercising your will, your sovereignty, your quiet strength. This small shift is not just about discipline, it's about rebellion, a peaceful rebellion against the gravity of comfort, a soft refusal to live on autopilot. Because let's be honest, If you don't carve out time for your inner world in the morning, the outer world will take over. And before you know it, you're living everyone else's schedule, everyone else's energy, but not your own. Now imagine what one extra hour could hold. You could journal. You could walk outside while the streets are still asleep. You could sit with a cup of coffee in silence, watching the sky lighten. Or you could simply do nothing and rediscover how rare and healing that can be. You see, waking early isn't about becoming more productive. It's about becoming more present, more intentional, more available to yourself. And over time, that one quiet hour becomes the foundation of a calmer mind and a stronger life. Because when you rise with purpose, you carry that energy with you through the chaos. So if there's a voice in you that says, but I'm not a morning person, ask yourself, or have I just never claimed my own morning? You don't need perfection, just a beginning. And sometimes that beginning is as simple as rising before the world demands your attention. This is your golden window, and it's waiting for you right on the other side of comfort. Part 2, hydrate. First, water before coffee. Let me ask you something simple, but important. What's the first thing you put into your body every morning? For most of us, the answer is coffee or some form of caffeine. We wake up still groggy, and we reach for stimulation before anything else. It's automatic. It's fast. It feels like survival. But here's the truth your body wishes you knew. You didn't wake up caffeine deprived. You woke up dehydrated. After 6 to 8 hours of sleep, your body is low on water. Your brain is running slower. Your organs are working harder. You're not tired because you haven't had coffee. You're tired because you haven't had hydration. That's why the small shift, drinking a glass of water before your coffee, can quietly change everything. One glass of water first thing in the morning reawakens your system. It helps flush out toxins. It lubricates your joints. It jumpstarts your digestion. But most importantly, it clears your mind. Studies have shown that proper hydration in the morning improves focus, memory, and even your emotional state. You become sharper, more stable, more present. But beyond the science, there's something deeper happening here. It's not just physical, it's philosophical. This simple act, repeated daily, becomes a kind of morning meditation. You're telling your body, I see you, I care, I choose to treat myself with kindness before the world gets loud. And that's where the Stoic wisdom of Epictetus comes in. He said, no great thing is created suddenly. It is the result of small efforts repeated day in and day out. Progress isn't about grand gestures. It's about small, intentional acts that align with who you want to become. And when you hydrate first thing in the morning, you are quietly declaring, I choose care over autopilot. I choose awareness over habit. It's easy to overlook something so small, but small things done consistently, those are the bricks that build a stronger life. Think of it this way. When you wake up and immediately flood your system with caffeine, you're skipping a step. You're asking your body for energy without giving it the resources to respond. But when you start with water, you're cooperating with your biology. You're working with yourself, not against yourself. And that cooperation is the foundation of self-respect. So tomorrow morning, pause before the coffee. Pour a glass of water. Drink it slowly. Let it become your first conscious act of the day. It doesn't take much time. It doesn't cost anything. But over time, this simple shift can lead to a deeper sense of clarity, control, and calm. Because it's not just about what you drink. It's about what you're practicing. And what you're practicing is care. Part 3, delay the scroll. No phone first thing. Let me ask you, what's the very first thing your eyes see in the morning? For many of us, the answer is the glowing screen of a phone. Before we even take a full breath, before we've remembered where we are or how we feel, we're already swimming in notifications, headlines, messages, ads, noise. And here's what most people don't realize. That tiny decision to check your phone right after waking, it silently hijacks your mind. It floods your nervous system with cortisol, comparison, urgency, and distraction. Not because phones are evil, but because you haven't given your mind time to anchor itself first. You see, your morning mind is soft. It's porous. In those first 10 minutes of consciousness, your brain is transitioning between worlds, between sleep and wakefulness, stillness and action. And whatever you feed it in that window sticks. If the first thing you consume is chaos, then chaos becomes your compass. But if the first thing you choose is presence, then presence becomes your power. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The Stoics understood this. The world is loud, unpredictable, and full of noise. But the mind, that's your domain. That's where real power begins. So what if you delayed the scroll? What if you gave yourself 20 minutes, just 20, before reaching for your phone? That time could be filled with anything nourishing: silence, gratitude, a few deep breaths, a short walk, journaling, stretching, anything that reminds you, I am not here to react. I am here to live on purpose. Think about it. If the first thing you consume is someone else's agenda, someone else's emotions, you've already abandoned your own. You've handed your attention and your energy to an algorithm. But when you resist that urge, even for a short while, you're doing something powerful. You're protecting your mental sanctuary. You're saying, I choose to set the tone of my day, not let it be set for me. And that simple act, that's the beginning of self-mastery. We often chase clarity, peace, confidence. But those states don't come from more stimulation. They come from less. They come from making space. They come from choosing what you let in. So tomorrow morning, before you reach for your screen, pause. Look out the window. Check in with yourself before checking in with the world. Because your mind is a temple, and the way you treat it each morning, that becomes the life you build, day by day. Part 4, make your bed, build momentum through order. Let me ask you something simple. What if the first victory of your day had nothing to do with achievements, goals, or hustle, and everything to do with how you made your bed? Yes, that's simple. Before emails, before traffic, before the noise, there's a quiet moment in your room where you decide, will I leave this space as I found it, or will I take a few seconds to create order? And that decision says far more about you than you might think. When you make your bed, you're not just folding blankets. You're folding intention into your day. You're reminding yourself, I am capable of creating structure, even in chaos. It's not about being neat or tidy for the sake of appearances. It's about signaling something deeper: self-respect, leadership, discipline. It's the difference between drifting and directing your own life. Admiral William McRaven, a former Navy SEAL, once said, if you want to change the world, start by making your bed. Why? Because when everything around you feels too big or out of control, you still have power over something small. And that's where momentum begins. You may not be able to solve every challenge today, but you can straighten your sheets. You can put the pillow back in place. And in doing that, you start to believe, if I can lead myself in the little things, I can handle the big ones too. This is what the Stoics called mastery of the self, not in grand gestures, but in daily acts of order, awareness, and intention. Let me give you a personal example. There were days when everything felt overwhelming: work stress, family pressure, emotional fatigue, but I still made the bed. And strangely enough, that one act helped me feel anchored. It didn't solve everything, but it reminded me that I hadn't lost all control. So let me ask you, what's the first thing you complete each morning? Is it reactive or intentional? Because the way we start things often mirrors the way we finish them. And here's the beauty of it. Making your bed takes less than a minute, but it gives you something priceless in return: a sense of agency, clarity, and confidence that quietly follows you into the rest of your day. So, tomorrow morning, before you rush out the door, take 30 seconds, make the bed, not for perfection, but for momentum, not for cleanliness, but for clarity, because every big day starts with one small, deliberate act. And this could be yours. Part 5. Move your body, wake up through motion. Before the world demands anything from you, your body is already asking for something simple: movement. Not a full workout, not a sweat-dripping grind, just a signal, a message to your system that says, I'm here, I'm awake, I'm ready to live this day. You see, the body doesn't just house the mind, it activates it. When you stretch your spine, take a short walk, or do 5 slow squats while brushing your teeth, you're not just moving muscles, you're shifting energy. You're transitioning from inertia to intention. In the words of Epictetus, no great thing is created suddenly. That includes your mindset. That includes your day. We often think we need to feel ready to move, but the truth is, moving makes us ready to feel. Your nervous system responds to motion, blood flows, breath deepens, and suddenly that morning fog starts to lift. Not because you fought it, but because you moved through it. Let me give you a personal example. There were mornings I woke up foggy, heavy, a little lost in thought, but once I rolled out of bed, did some slow stretches on the floor, and took 10 deep breaths while rotating my shoulders, clarity returned. Not all at once, but enough to begin. Enough to say, let's go. And the best part? This isn't about fitness goals or calorie counting. It's about vitality. It's about honoring the fact that being alive means being in motion. The Stoics believed deeply in engaging the physical as a gateway to mental strength, not through extreme force, but through discipline in the small things. Because if you can command your body first thing in the morning, you've already won a battle many people don't even realize they're fighting. So here's the question. What if movement isn't just about health, but about returning to yourself? What if stretching for 2 minutes, walking outside barefoot, or doing gentle yoga wasn't an obligation, but a daily ceremony where your body and mind reconnect before the noise arrives? Tomorrow morning, before you reach for your phone or drown in to-do lists, just move. Gently, deliberately, gratefully. Because when your body moves, your life begins to move with it. And over time, you don't just wake up earlier. You wake up wiser, calmer, more alive. Part 6. Cold shower. Train yourself to face discomfort. Let's talk about something that most people avoid like the plague: a cold shower. Now I know what you're thinking. Why would anyone choose discomfort first thing in the morning? But that's exactly the point. Because the moment you step into cold water, your body rebels. Your mind screams, "Get out." Everything inside you wants comfort. And yet, if you stay, if you breathe through the shock, you discover something powerful. You are capable of facing discomfort and not running from it. This isn't about punishing yourself. It's about practicing presence. It's not about enjoying the pain. It's about moving through hesitation with courage. And that small act, that brief moment of discomfort, rewires something deep inside. Cold exposure activates your nervous system. It improves circulation. But more importantly, it trains your mind to stay calm under pressure. Modern neuroscience has shown that cold therapy increases neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to adapt. In other words, you're not just becoming tougher, you're becoming more resilient, more flexible, more focused. And that translates into everything you do: your work, your relationships, your emotional regulation. Because if you can meet a blast of cold water with stillness, you can meet a difficult conversation, a chaotic moment, or a fear of the unknown the same way. This is resistance training for your spirit. It's not about suffering, it's about stretching. It's about showing up to your life with less hesitation and more inner power. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you chose to do something hard just because it made you stronger? Cold showers aren't a test of physical toughness. They're a daily reminder that courage isn't loud, it's quiet. It's found in the moments you face what's uncomfortable and stay rooted anyway. So tomorrow when you turn the handle to cold, don't flinch. Pause, take one deep breath, and step in, not to suffer, but to grow. Because discomfort is a doorway, and what's on the other side is strength. Part 7. Journal. Declutter your mind. Build self-awareness. Let me ask you something personal. When was the last time you actually listened to your own mind? On paper. We carry so much inside us. Thoughts bouncing around, emotions we don't fully understand, patterns we keep repeating, not because we want to, but because we haven't slowed down long enough to notice them. Journaling gives you that pause. It's not just a morning habit for highly productive people. It's a mirror, a space where your inner world speaks, and you, finally, listen. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in history, wrote every morning, not to impress anyone, not to be published, but to govern himself. His journal was a map, a way to sort through fear, anger, ego, confusion. He used it to remind himself what mattered and to let go of what didn't. And you can do the same. When you write, you slow your mind down to the speed of your pen. You're not chasing thoughts anymore. You're examining them, seeing which ones serve you and which ones sabotage you. Write about your fears, your hopes, the thing that bothered you yesterday, or the pattern you notice repeating in your relationships. Ask yourself, why did I react that way? What am I not facing? You don't need perfect grammar. You don't need to write pages. You just need honesty. Because this isn't a trend. This isn't some productivity hack. Journaling is mental hygiene. It's emotional detox. It's how you build a relationship with the only person who will be with you your entire life, yourself. And over time, this simple act becomes a quiet kind of therapy. It's how you unlearn what's hurting you and start choosing what heals you. So the next time your mind feels noisy, overwhelmed, or unclear, don't reach for a distraction. Reach for a pen. Because sometimes the most powerful transformation doesn't come from adding more, but from clearing space within. Part 8. Set 3 clear goals. Direction over. Let me ask you this. When you wake up, do you already feel behind? Like your day is pulling you in 10 directions before you've even had a chance to breathe? That feeling is more than stress. It's lack of direction. Here's a quiet truth most people miss. It's not that we don't have enough time. It's that we don't protect our attention. In a world filled with noise, notifications, and never-ending to-do lists, your clarity is your power. And one of the simplest ways to reclaim that power is to start each day by choosing just three. Three clear, meaningful tasks, not 30, not everything I can possibly squeeze in. Just the three things that actually move you forward. The three things that, if done with intention, would make you feel proud when the day is over. This is about quality, not quantity. It's not about being busy. It's about being focused. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do." In other words, decide who you want to become and let your actions follow that vision. So instead of reacting to what the world throws at you, you choose your direction. You take back the steering wheel. You stop leaking energy into distractions that don't serve your values, and you pour it into things that matter. What are your three for today? Maybe it's finishing one project with full attention. Maybe it's showing up for someone you love. Maybe it's finally tackling the task you've been avoiding, the one that secretly holds your growth. Whatever they are, write them down. Keep them visible. And when the noise comes, because it will, you'll have something stronger, a compass. This isn't a productivity hack. It's a practice of discipline and self-respect. Because when you move through your day with purpose, you don't just get more done, you feel more alive while doing it. And that's the real goal, isn't it? Iterate Part 9 was, read something meaningful. Feed your mind with depth. Let's pause for a moment and ask a simple but important question. What's the very first thing your mind consumes each morning? For most people, it's a scroll through the phone, headlines, gossip, noise, and distraction. But what if the first thing your mind touched each day was wisdom? What if instead of jumping into the chaos, you gently stepped into clarity by reading something that deepens you, not just distracts you? Here's what the Stoics knew. The quality of your thoughts shapes the quality of your life, and your thoughts are shaped by what you feed your mind. So start small, a few pages from a great book, a quote from Marcus Aurelius, a short passage from a podcast that speaks to your highest self, not your lowest impulse. It's not about reading for hours. It's about choosing depth over noise, substance over stimulation. Seneca once said, associate with people who are likely to improve you. That includes authors, philosophers, thinkers, voices who challenge you to grow, to reflect, to become wiser and calmer. In this way, reading becomes more than education. It becomes inner alignment. It's like planting seeds of strength and clarity in the soil of your mind before the world has a chance to plant weeds. And if you've ever noticed, the days when you start with truth or perspective often unfold very differently. You're more centered, less reactive. You respond with wisdom, not worry. This one habit, just 5 minutes of meaningful reading, can shape how you think, how you speak, and how you carry yourself for the rest of the day. So ask yourself, what kind of energy do I want to invite into my mind each morning? If you want peace, read peace. If you want strength, read something that builds it. If you want clarity, open a page that clears the fog, not adds to it. Because what you consume first quietly becomes what you reflect all day long. Part 10, visualization. See your day before you live it. Have you ever walked into your day without actually arriving in it? Like your body's there, but your mind is running on autopilot, reacting, rushing, reaching. What if instead you began each day by first seeing it? Visualization is not some mystical ritual. It's a practical act of self-leadership. It's pausing to mentally rehearse how you want to move, speak, think, and respond. Because when your mind has already walked the path, your actions tend to follow with more clarity and confidence. Elite athletes use this daily. Before they step onto the court, They've already played the game in their heads. Every shot, every breath, every challenge. And you don't need a stadium or spotlight. You just need a quiet moment, eyes closed, and a willingness to see the strongest version of yourself. Picture how you want to carry yourself at work. Visualize that difficult conversation you've been avoiding, but this time you stay calm, grounded, and clear. Imagine yourself choosing discipline over distraction, gratitude over complaint. This is the inner practice of intention, and it's not new. The Stoics had their version of this too, premeditatio malorum, the rehearsal of adversity. They would imagine what could go wrong, not to dwell in fear, but to prepare the spirit, to anchor the mind before the storm. By visualizing the best and the worst, you train yourself to respond, not react. You create mental blueprints for resilience, focus, and presence. So before your feet touch the ground tomorrow, take 60 seconds. Picture the day ahead. See yourself moving with purpose, speaking with clarity, returning to center when chaos comes knocking. You're not just hoping for a good day, you're preparing for it. And that preparation becomes your quiet advantage. Because when you can see it, you can live it. Part 11, gratitude. Shift focus from lack to abundance. Here's a quiet truth that changes everything. Your mind is not wired to make you happy. It's wired to keep you alive, which means by default, it scans for what's missing, what could go wrong, and what might hurt. That's why, even on your best days, you can still feel like something's off. It's not you being ungrateful. It's biology. But the good news? You can train it. And one of the simplest, most powerful ways to train your brain is through gratitude. Now, I don't mean the kind of forced positivity where you pretend everything's perfect. I mean intentional gratitude, the daily practice of noticing what's already right. Your breath, the warmth of sunlight through your window, a friend who listens, the fact that you made it through what once felt impossible. Gratitude is not about ignoring problems. It's about strengthening your ability to see both, the challenge and the blessing, the fear and the progress. And science backs this up. Gratitude doesn't just feel good, it does good. It increases dopamine and serotonin, your brain's natural feel-better chemicals. It lowers cortisol, the stress hormone. It even improves sleep and focus. But perhaps most importantly, gratitude shifts your identity. It teaches your mind. I am not lacking, I am learning. I am not behind, I am becoming. The Stoics knew this centuries ago. Seneca once said, "Nothing is more honorable than a grateful heart, because a grateful heart is a courageous one. It refuses to be blinded by chaos. It finds light again and again." So tomorrow morning, before you dive into the noise, pause. Ask yourself, what is still good in my life right now? What am I standing on that I once only dreamed of reaching? Write it down. Speak it out loud. Let it settle into your nervous system, because gratitude isn't just a feeling. It's a mental discipline. And the more you practice it, the more resilient you become. Not just happier, but clearer, more grounded, more whole. Over time, you don't just think differently. You live differently, not chasing more, but recognizing enough. Part 12, reflect on a Stoic. Quote, choose a thought that guides you. Sometimes all it takes is one sentence, just one line of wisdom, to completely shift how you face your day. In a world filled with noise, distraction, and emotional triggers, your mind needs something solid to return to, a compass, a mental anchor. And Stoic philosophy offers that in its most timeless form. Take this line from Epictetus, for example. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Now pause with that for a second. Let it sink in, because life will happen. Unexpected delays, rude people, your own inner doubts and frustrations. You don't control most of it, but what you always have power over is your response. This is what Stoicism is really about. Not cold detachment, not pretending emotions don't exist, but choosing how you show up in every situation, no matter what the world throws at you. Imagine starting each day with one powerful quote, not just reading it, but living it, letting it guide the way you talk, the way you make decisions, the way you return to calm when your emotions want to run wild. This small ritual doesn't take much time. Just choose one idea, one stoic truth, and reflect on it while you're drinking your coffee, brushing your teeth, or walking to your car. It doesn't have to be Epictetus. It could be Marcus Aurelius reminding you, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Or Seneca's wisdom, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Let the quote be your filter for the day. So when someone cuts you off in traffic, or a meeting doesn't go your way, or your energy dips, instead of spiraling, you remember, it's not what happens to me, it's how I respond. Over time, this isn't just a nice habit, it becomes mental conditioning. You train your brain to pause before reacting, to think before speaking, to choose clarity over chaos. And the best part? You're not just quoting the Stoics, you're becoming one. By making their wisdom a living part of your routine, you're turning philosophy into practice and theory into personal power. So before you dive into the day, ask yourself, what thought will guide me today? What wisdom do I want to live? Not just read. Part 13. Step outside, reconnect with nature. Before the meetings begin, before the to-do list takes over, before the world floods in with noise and urgency, step outside. Not far, not for long. Even 5 minutes can be enough. Touch the air. Feel the sun or the rain or the cold against your skin. Hear the leaves rustle or the silence if you're lucky enough to find it. Because you weren't meant to live in rectangles, screens, rooms, endless scrolling. You came from the soil, from the trees, from wind, water, sky. And no matter how modern your life becomes, your nervous system still remembers. There's a reason why just being outdoors can lower your cortisol, slow your heart rate, and bring you back to yourself. It's not magic, it's biology, and it's wisdom. The Swiss psychologist Carl Jung once said, "Natural life is the nourishing soil of the soul." He didn't just mean walking through the woods. He meant returning to the environment where your soul can breathe again, where you're not performing or pushing or fixing, but simply being. Have you ever noticed how your best insights don't come while staring at a screen, but often when you're walking in the open, looking at the sky, or just letting your thoughts float near a tree or a river? That's no accident. When you reconnect with nature, you reconnect with your deeper self, the one beneath the noise, the plans, the expectations. And it doesn't have to be dramatic. You don't need a forest retreat or a sunrise hike. Just step outside your front door. Breathe with awareness. Touch the ground with presence. Let nature interrupt your mental autopilot. It's not about escape. It's about realignment. Every morning, let this simple act remind you, the world doesn't start inside your phone. It starts with your breath, with the sky above you, with your feet touching the earth. Over time, this daily reconnection builds something powerful: calmness, clarity, and presence. You don't just function better, you feel more alive. So let me ask you, before you dive into your day, have you stepped outside to meet the world, not through a screen, but through your senses? Part 14. Eat a real breakfast. Fuel for mental clarity. Let me ask you something simple but important. What's the first thing you give to your body after waking up? For many people, it's coffee, maybe a donut, maybe nothing at all. But here's the truth. Your brain is not just fueled by ambition or motivation. It's fueled by what you put into your body. If you start your day with sugar and caffeine, or skip food altogether, you might feel fast at first, but that rush fades quickly. What follows is a crash. Brain fog, irritability, low energy. Why? Because your body needs more than calories. It needs real nourishment, especially in the morning when your system is rebooting for the day. Proteins, healthy fats, nutrients your brain requires to think clearly, to stay focused, to regulate your mood. Think eggs, avocados, oats, Greek yogurt. Even something as simple as a handful of nuts and fruit can make a difference. This isn't about being a health guru or following some trendy diet. It's about honoring your instrument, your body, as the vehicle for your thoughts, your emotions, your presence in the world. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus reminded us that mastery isn't just about how we think, it's about how we treat our physical self. Discipline begins at the table, not just the mind. So what does that mean in practice? It means choosing to be intentional with your first meal, not perfect, but conscious. It means asking yourself, am I feeding my energy or my cravings? When you choose real food, you choose clarity. You choose to support your mind's performance, your emotional stability, your presence in every conversation and task ahead. This small choice, a nourishing breakfast, is an act of self-respect. It tells your system, I'm showing up today. I care about how I feel. I'm prepared to lead myself, not just survive the day, but actually engage with it. Because how you feed yourself is how you begin to lead yourself. And how you begin your day often decides how it unfolds. Over time, this one choice builds a foundation of strength, steadiness, and mental presence. You don't just eat better, you think better, feel better, and show up with greater energy. So tomorrow morning, before the inbox, before the phone, ask yourself, what am I really feeding my body or my autopilot? Part 15, speak your affirmations. Program the mind you want to live in. Let me ask you a question. What's the very first voice your mind hears each day? Is it the voice of encouragement or the subtle murmur of doubt? Is it clarity or self-criticism disguised as realism? You see, most of us wake up and immediately fall back into yesterday's thoughts, old fears, lingering insecurities, mental habits we didn't choose, but somehow repeated so often they became default. But here's the empowering truth. You can rewire that voice. You can train your mind to speak to you differently. And one of the simplest, most powerful ways to start is through spoken affirmations. Now, I'm not talking about empty mantras or pretending everything's perfect. I'm talking about conscious language, spoken out loud, that redirects your mental path. Why out loud? Because what you say, you hear. And what you hear consistently, you begin to believe. Think of it as programming the operating system of your identity. Marcus Aurelius once said, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. So if your thoughts are constantly soaked in doubt, fear, or shame, that becomes your emotional atmosphere. But if every morning you choose a different tone, I am calm, I am capable, I choose discipline over chaos, you're not lying to yourself, you're leading yourself. Affirmations aren't magic spells. They are declarations of direction. They don't work because the universe suddenly shifts. They work because you do. They anchor your focus. They reframe your self-talk. And over time, they shape how you walk into meetings, handle setbacks, love people, and most importantly, how you speak to yourself in the quiet moments. So tomorrow morning, before the noise of the world sets in, pause, look in the mirror if you must, and speak not from wishful thinking, but from intention. Say, I am grounded. I choose presence. I am becoming the person I respect. Because every word you choose is like a seed, planted enough times, and the roots go deep. Over time, this practice creates a mind that becomes your ally, not your enemy. You don't just think better. You live with more courage, more kindness, and more self-trust. So ask yourself this: if your mind is a place you have to live in every day, what kind of environment are you building with your words? Master the morning, shape your life. Let me leave you with this. You don't need to conquer the entire day. You don't have to predict every challenge or plan every step perfectly. All you really need is to begin with intention. The morning isn't just the start of your schedule, it's the birthplace of your mindset. And in those first quiet moments before the world demands your attention, you get to make a powerful choice. Do you react or do you lead yourself? Each of the practices we've shared, whether it's making your bed, taking a cold shower, writing down your thoughts, or stepping outside for a breath of fresh air, these aren't chores. They're rituals of alignment, little anchors of self-respect, tiny acts of clarity, quiet declarations that say, I am in charge of how I show up. You don't master the day by hustling harder or filling every hour. You master the day by coming home to yourself early, by practicing presence before pressure, and by choosing who you want to be before the world tells you otherwise. Marcus Aurelius didn't become wise by chance. He journaled, he reflected, he set his intention daily. And that's the invitation for you, not to be perfect, but to be present. Because when your morning is deliberate, your life starts to follow. Not all at once, but steadily. Your energy changes, your focus sharpens, your peace deepens, and over time, something subtle but extraordinary happens. You begin to live on purpose. So if you remember nothing else from this video, remember this: strength, clarity, and peace. They're not found. They're practiced, and it all starts in the morning. Now tell me, what will your first decision be tomorrow?